Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining us for this talk today for the second edition of Jerusalem Women's Film Festival. We are going to have a nice chat with the filmmaker and director of Waterproof, Konig. I'm Tina Jacob. I'm an animator and illustrator from Haifa, currently living in Jerusalem, and I'm going to be the host for this talk today. So, hi, Dani, how are you doing?
I'm fine. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for actually coming. Tell us a little bit about your work, your film, and what is it about?
This film, Waterproof, is about a group of badass women. They're hilarious and they're kick-ass and they rule their own world. And I fell in love with them when I was traveling in Jordan. And yeah, it's also an educating story about water, because Jordan is the second driest country in the world. So it's both educating and entertaining.
The film is set and takes place in a very rural and non-globalized area, moving between Amman and El Salt. How did you come to make this film as a German filmmaker about these very strong and fierce women who are part of this very niche community?
I was traveling 2016 in Jordan after I lived in Israel and Palestine the year before. And I was making a photo series about badass Jordanian women. So I met with footballers and kickboxers, painters, politicians, all kinds of women. And then during the research, I stumbled over a video of Khawla on YouTube, and it was called Fix Your House with Khawla. And she was showing how to paint a wall to a man. And I found this hilarious. And I called my fixer and was like, give me her number. I want to meet her. And I met her and Hab and Aisha. And I met them and I instantly realized this is film material. This is not photo material, because they are so funny and open and light. So yeah, that was the beginning of a 4-year journey together with them.
4-year journey, wow.
Yeah.
When did you start actually filming? Was it instantly after you came to know about this woman, or did you spend some time with them and started filming along the way? I guess what I'm asking about is what the nature of your relationship with this woman.
So on my first trip, when I was on the other project, I filmed the workshop they held in Mafraq. And then when I came back, I lived there for 3 months without the camera. I just wanted to get to know them. We had pajama parties at Aisha's place. We taught each other English and Arabic. I spent a lot of time with Khawla, because I knew as a German, as a white woman, as a European, I can't just go there and, hold a camera in their faces and expect them to, dance around. So it was very important to me to build trust, to make them feel as comfortable as possible. And then over 4 years, I traveled back and forth. I think I was there 12 times, sometimes for a couple of months, sometimes for a couple of weeks. Yeah.
That's great. So Jordan, as you know, and Jordan and Germany are very, very different countries. And the women who live there face different forms of patriarchy and sexism. Or do you think there are similarities between you and women in your region and the ones starring in your film, or are these two different unrelated realities?
I think they're not completely unrelated, although I think the conception of feminism here is totally different than in Jordan, because what we want here is more kind of a luxury result. And when you go to Salt, for example, they start from a totally different starting point. It's a different culture, and you can't really compare those things. But when I befriended them, we kind of also discovered we have the same wishes, the same visions, the same dreams. So this is definitely something we share, but we have different backgrounds and different privileges. And even when you look at Khawla and Aisha, they have different backgrounds and different starting points.
Exactly.
Also, when you see Khawla is living in the city and Aisha is living in Salt, so country and city also different angles. So it's very complex and very interesting.
Despite the fact that the film is a documentary and there are many fictional elements, whether they are in the method of shooting, editing, or a narrative itself, at the very beginning, I felt quite connected to the three characters actually, Khawla, Aisha, and Rihab, and they had a wide range of characteristics. Sorry, characteristic, including humorous one. To what extent do you intervene with the dynamics between those women, if at all, actually?
The dynamics, you can't really intervene. They have their own kind of speed they're dancing to. So of course, when you say fictional elements, the scene in the beginning in the car, I had it in my mind from the moment I met them. And so we composed exactly a song for this scene.
Yeah.
But this is how they ride the car. You know, this is
Two cameras and yeah.
Exactly. But this is something we shot the very, very last. So after 4 years, because I know all their routines, I know how they're acting in the car. I know like what stuff they're talking about, you know, so it's just, I just gave them the ideas, like, let's shoot this scene in the car, and the rest they did themselves, because the Rihab, really, you can't tell her what to do. She's like, she would never go for it.
Yeah.
She's a boss and she does whatever she wants. So yeah, there's only one scene we reshot because it happened when I wasn't there. It's when Aisha and Khawla discussed the whole core thing. So this is something we shot, but all the rest just happened natural. And we never.
And it was, there was just only one shot that recreated or directed, say.
Exactly, because we were missing it in the edit. So my editor, Alex Bakri, before my last shoot, he said, we need it, otherwise people won't understand. We need this missing part. So I said, okay, I'll do it. But the rest happened naturally. And I never shot the scene twice.
By the way, editing, the film is edited in a very unique and distinguished manner. It has many narratives and sub-narratives that are all unfolding in different ways, whether it is through the intercuts, it's great intercuts, by the way, or the approach of editing in general. Tell us about your artistic choices that led you to have somewhat two different narratives taking place simultaneously, the ones with the woman and the other with the truck driver.
So the editing credit goes entirely to Alex Bakri, who's a genius. And the different narratives, it was important to me to explain to the audience what the water system works like in Jordan. Because especially for Westerners or Europeans, you don't understand it because we don't have water tanks. So I needed this second narrative level of where does the water come from? Where does it travel? How does it get to the households? And this is why we introduced Abu Shakar. I was looking for a truck driver for many, many months. And I drove with so many men in their trucks and none of them felt right until I met him. He is hilarious and he doesn't even know it. He's so cinematic. He's born for the camera and he doesn't even know. So yeah, I think we needed this level to explain the complex topic of water and water scarcity. And the third level, which is the visuals, you know, you see in the beginning with the 3D camera, this was something I really wanted to be inside of the water, to be inside of the tank. So yeah, there's basically 3 different levels.
The film actually surely does depict extremely powerful women who are forging their way in a male-dominated environment, especially their field of work, plumbing. Yet between those women, the women themselves, there are power dynamics, especially ones related to class struggle and economic exploitation. What is your take on intersectionality in that context?
I think every friendship is complicated. Every friendship has its ups and downs. And you see between those women, especially between Khawla and Aisha, they have a long story and it goes way back and they had their highs and their lows. But it's interesting to watch because I feel like it's not a toxic friendship, and there is too many displays of toxic female friendship in film and cinema. So they had a problem and they solved it, and I found this very interesting to observe. Although from the beginning I didn't know this was going to happen. I wanted to make a happy, light, powerful film about female friendship. And then this whole court thing happened. Nobody saw this coming. And I was like, shit, this is going to be ruined. They will hate each other. This will not work. But it did, because they made it work and they struggled through it. And now they're better than ever. So
it's still in a good relationship.
Yes, they are.
The entire film is in Arabic, and there is no attempt to change the fact. What is your target audience, actually? Is it the Arab world, Jordan in particular, or do you think this inspirational film has a wide framework of the audiences?
I think it's suitable for all the audiences, but all with a different perspective. So when we showed it in Germany to the premiere, we invited the girls. So Rehab, Aisha, and Khawla were in Germany for the premiere. And the cinema was full. It was 250 people. And all the questions, people had, it was basically just positive feedback. And they said, oh my God, we love you so much. We just want to spend the evenings with you and smoke shisha all night. And it kind of changed perspective on what Arab women are like. And for me, it was amazing because I didn't have to stand on the stage and tell their story, because they were there to answer questions about their lives. It's not my story, it's their story. I just held the camera, basically. So Rehab, she took the mic and she stood before all those people and she said, so what do you think of Arab women now? Are we strong or are we weak? And she got a standing ovation and people didn't stop clapping. And this was, for me, this is exactly what I wanted. And I think this film can do the same in the Arab world, because I saw in Jordan that most men were very positive, and they said, MashaAllah, you're doing great. This is awesome, Mabruk. And this was really what I observed. I didn't see anyone who said, this is shameful, haram, like don't do this. But I think there are still people who might think this way. So if they see this, and if they see how proud it makes them, and how positive the result is, it might change them something. Yeah.
Of course, in Jordan, they have, you actually, they can see that they can watch the movie, or not yet, or what's happening there?
We waited to show it because Khawla, she wanted this whole court thing to settle. Jordan is a very small country. And Khawla was afraid that it might cause a stir, and she wanted to wait a little bit. So whenever she's ready, I'm there to show the film in Jordan. It was shot there, and I'm convinced it should go home at some point. But it would never do anything to hurt her. So we're in contact, and we'll see when she's ready and this whole court thing is settled, then we bring it back home.
And then they are now still friends. They're having Khawla and Aisha are still friends. That's the whole point. Yeah.
Yes, they are. Actually, after they saw the movie for the first time in Germany, they got into a fight, and they were like, you said this and you said that. And they were kind of mad at each other. And then they talked about everything. I think they talked about the last 3 years, and they made up. And since then, they're like thicker than ever. So
that's great. Also, even the relationship between Aisha and her daughter, and even her son, that taught her how to drive. It's very, very unique.
It's an awesome family, and I love the relationship Aisha has with Ruba. It's so open, and all the Jordanians who saw the film was like, the scene where Ruba talks about love, it's the strongest scene in the film, because they were like, oh my God, I've never seen this. But this is how they are, because they're also very close in age, and they have such an amazing relationship, the two of them. And also the sons, both of them, are very supportive.
Yeah. was showed. So what next for you? Are you working on any new projects? Anything new on cooking?
Yes. Although my biggest focus is female empowerment, and I also work as a self-defense trainer for women, my latest project is actually about men. Men in Russia, as my mother is from Russia, but because of COVID, this project is on hold because I can't enter Russia at the moment. But we see restrictions are lifting, so I hope there is a way soon to proceed on the new film.
So Dani, this is your first feature, and it has already been showcased in many festivals worldwide. But the real question is, can you now fix pipes or install or repair pipes?
I think I learned a few things. Yeah, I did.
Right. So what you're taking from this experience? Actually, you had a very different experience. Even when you were here, it's not the same. Here the struggles are. Even we have those struggles, but still, there's a lot of differences.
Many differences. Those 4 years were super valuable, and I would never change it for a lifetime. It's not only to get to know a culture and a language that well, it's also confronting myself with my own white privilege.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole process of getting to know those women and talking about privilege, feminism, emancipation, it was very humbling. And I think it made me also a stronger person and a more like a smarter person in that sense. So yeah, it's was one of the best experiences of my life, and I just love those women to death. They're very inspiring.
They are very inspiring. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It has been a pleasure talking to you, and I hope to see your next film.
Thank you so much, Tina.
Thank you.